On a peaceful Tuesday afternoon, Elon Musk, the man behind dreams of conquering space and redefining humanity's future, decided to treat himself to a moment of relaxation by stopping at Taco Bell. Just a simple fast food meal, right? But it was here, in a seemingly ordinary moment, that Elon happened to overhear the desperate whispers of two unfamiliar boys sitting nearby. What he heard made Elon freeze in his tracks. The two boys, Liam and Ben, had no idea that the man in the simple hoodie sitting before them was the world-famous billionaire. They were planning to do something bold for an incredibly touching reason: to save their mother's life. Behind their innocent appearances lay a heavy burden and a fear that no child should ever have to bear. What followed was a deeply human story, as Elon not only changed the lives of Liam and Ben, but also left behind a profound lesson in compassion and the power of kindness. Join us as we uncover this heartwarming tale and witness how a random moment can become the turning point that changes everything. Don't forget to subscribe to the Inspiring Hearts channel to spread more stories that touch your heart. It was a Tuesday afternoon, but for Elon Musk, the day felt heavier than most. The morning had been consumed by a relentless string of tense meetings. Emails piled up like a never-ending river, bringing questions of monumental scale and weighty decisions about the future of SpaceX, Tesla, and other groundbreaking ventures. Though he was no stranger to such a demanding pace, working 80, sometimes 100 hours a week, today, the pressure seemed to exceed even his limits. Leaning back in his chair, Elon stared blankly at the white wall of his office. His thoughts, like crashing waves, surged endlessly, leaving him feeling drained and burdened. "I need a break," he thought, as a faint yet persistent urge bubbled up from within. A quiet voice urging him to step away from the chaos, even just for a moment. Sometimes, even the world's most driven minds need a moment to breathe, a reminder of their humanity, and a chance to embrace the vulnerabilities they often suppress. An idea suddenly struck him. A fast food meal. Something simple, unpretentious, but evocative of earlier days. Taco Bell. Elon chuckled softly to himself. Who would believe a billionaire is craving tacos? Yet, the nostalgia tugged at him, stirring memories of his younger days. Back then, he had been just a young man immersed in coding marathons, spending countless hours at his computer. Meals like a Crunchwrap Supreme were small luxuries that helped him power through the long nights. Without further hesitation, Elon slid into his Tesla. The car purred to life, its silent motor carrying him down suburban streets bathed in the gentle hues of an evening sun. Before long, he arrived at his destination, a modest Taco Bell tucked between a convenience store and a small strip mall. There were no flashing lights, no curious stares. In his black hoodie and simple jeans, Elon blended in, just another anonymous customer. The familiar chime of the door greeted him as he entered, bringing with it the inviting aroma of melted cheese and seasoned beef. Scanning the room, Elon took in the simplicity of the space. Plain chairs and tables, the hum of the soda machine, and a few patrons absorbed in their meals. In that moment, the weight on his shoulders seemed to lift ever so slightly, like a heavy stone had been set aside. As Elon stepped through the threshold of Taco Bell, he was no longer the billionaire visionary dreaming of Mars or revolutionizing transportation. He was simply a man, seeking a moment of peace amid the relentless storm of his life. The familiar scent of melted cheese, the fizzy hiss of soda machines, and the humble surroundings transported him back to his youth, those days of uncertainty, yet brimming with ambition. Here, in this fleeting, unassuming moment, Elon felt something that no amount of wealth could ever buy, a simple but precious sense of tranquility. Elon had just finished placing his order, waiting by the counter while his mind drifted through visions of the future: spacecraft, sustainable energy, and groundbreaking technology. But then, a faint sound from the corner of the restaurant caught his attention. It was the hushed voices of two children, not loud enough to disturb anyone else, but piercing enough to shatter Elon's train of thought. He glanced toward the source of the sound. There, in a small booth, sat two boys, perhaps 13 or 14 years old, leaning in close to each other, their conversation marked by urgency and tension. The older boy, seemingly the leader, whispered in a voice strained with desperation, "We have to do it tonight. If we don't, Mom won't make it." The words hit Elon like a sharp dagger to the chest. He could hear the anxiety and helplessness woven into every syllable. The younger boy, his pale face etched with fear, replied in a trembling voice, "But what if we get caught? You know what they do to people who steal." The word steal landed in Elon's mind like a shockwave. He turned slightly, careful not to draw their attention, stealing a glance at the pair. They looked gaunt, their clothes worn and faded, their faces carrying the kind of weariness no child should bear. Elon realized these weren't mischievous kids plotting some prank. These were two children backed into a corner, forced to consider the unthinkable. "I don't want to do this," the younger boy murmured, his voice on the verge of tears. "What if someone gets hurt?" The older boy swallowed hard, his eyes flickering with a mix of determination and doubt. "I promise, no one will get hurt. We'll just take enough to buy Mom's medicine. That's all." Elon stood frozen, gripping his bag of food tightly. In his chest, he felt a wave of empathy surge, a deep, unfamiliar ache. These boys weren't just children caught in a tough spot. They were the sons of a mother fighting for her life, burdened by a weight far beyond their years. Elon stood motionless, his heart constricting painfully. These two boys, so small, their bony shoulders barely holding up their worn shirts, were carrying the weight of the world. Their words weren't the idle chatter of carefree youth, but the desperate cries of a family teetering on the edge of collapse. In their eyes, Elon didn't just see fear. He saw love, a fierce, unrelenting love for their mother, who they were willing to risk everything for. At that moment, Elon knew he couldn't just walk away. He had to act. Elon knew he couldn't just stand there and pretend he hadn't heard anything. But he also realized that confronting the boys directly might scare them, or, worse, push them to act recklessly. Taking a deep breath, he told himself that he needed to approach this carefully. He turned back to the counter and leaned in to speak quietly to the cashier. "Could you add 2 more Crunchwrap Supremes to my order, please? And make it to go." The cashier hesitated for a moment, slightly puzzled, but quickly nodded and made the addition. Elon picked up the bag, now heavier with extra food, and walked slowly toward the boys' table. The two boys were still deep in their hushed conversation, oblivious to his presence. Elon stopped a few steps away, his voice warm but steady. "Hey there, kids. Mind if I join you? I accidentally ordered too much food, and I could use some help finishing it." The boys looked up startled. Their faces showed a mixture of surprise and fear. The older one, Jack, immediately shifted into a defensive stance, his voice sharp and protective. "We didn't do anything wrong. We were just talking, that's all." Elon gave a gentle smile, his eyes soft and reassuring. "I'm not saying you did. I just happened to overhear a little bit and thought you might be going through something tough." His calm, understanding tone seemed to pierce through their defenses. The younger boy, Ryan, blinked hard, his eyes welling up with tears he was clearly trying to suppress. Jack held Elon's gaze for a moment, then lowered his head, his voice breaking under the weight of his emotions. "Our mom. She's really sick. She needs medicine, but we don't have any money. We've tried everything." Elon felt a wave of emotion wash over him. In Jack's eyes, he saw the kind of despair he had witnessed in countless faces over the years, adults weathered by life's hardships. But here, on the face of a child, it was nearly unbearable. Ryan couldn't hold back any longer and began to cry softly, his voice trembling as he confessed, "We don't want to do something bad, but if we don't, she won't make it. We don't have any other choice." Elon's heart ached. The sheer desperation, the crushing poverty, and the unshakable love for their mother were etched deeply into every word, every tear. These weren't delinquents looking for trouble. They were children forced to grow up too quickly, bearing burdens far too heavy for their small shoulders. Elon sat silently for a moment, glancing at the bag of food in his hand, then back at the boys. He knew he couldn't change the entire world in this single moment, but he could change the world for these two boys, right here, right now. Top of form. In Ryan's tears, Elon saw not just sorrow, but the fierce love of a child for his mother, mingled with the raw terror of losing her. In Jack's trembling voice, he heard the fragile strength of a boy who had been forced to grow up too fast, breaking under the weight of his impossible reality. These children weren't meant to carry such burdens. Their eyes should have been filled with hope, not desperation. In that moment, Elon Musk wasn't a billionaire or a visionary. He was simply a human being, standing in the presence of pain, knowing he had to act to ease it. Elon sat quietly for a moment, his eyes never leaving the two boys in front of him. Jack and Ryan, with their frail shoulders and eyes filled with the worries of adults, couldn't hide the fear that weighed heavily on them. He understood that for these boys, their mother was their entire world, and they were willing to do anything, even something risky and wrong, to save that world. Taking a deep breath, Elon spoke softly, his voice steady and filled with resolve. "I can help you. Let me take care of the medicine your mom needs. You don't have to carry this burden alone anymore." Jack looked up, his eyes clouded with doubt. "Are you really going to help us? Why would someone like you care about us?" Elon smiled warmly, his gaze full of empathy. "I've seen many people go through hardships like yours. I know what it feels like to be pushed to the edge. And I believe that if we can help each other, even in small ways, the world becomes a much better place. You don't have to risk everything. Let me help you and your mom." Ryan burst into tears, unable to hold back his emotions any longer. Jack, trying to maintain the strong facade of an older brother, finally let his own tears fall. For the first time in days, the boys felt a weight lift from their small shoulders, as if a heavy stone had been removed. Elon quickly pulled out his phone and contacted a nearby hospital to ensure their mother would receive immediate medical care. But he didn't stop there. He promised to support the family in the long term, so they would never face such a dire situation again. Before leaving, Elon placed a reassuring hand on Jack's shoulder and gave it a gentle squeeze. "You've done a great job protecting your family, but from now on, let me help. You're not alone." Jack looked up at him, his eyes brimming with gratitude and newfound hope. "I don't know how to thank you. You've saved us. And our mom." Elon stood, his heart full, and walked out of Taco Bell with a sense of relief and purpose. He hadn't just helped two boys. He had pulled an entire family back from the brink of despair. As Elon stepped out of Taco Bell, his heart swelled with a quiet satisfaction. Behind him, two boys who had just lost all hope now found a light at the end of their dark tunnel. This wasn't something Elon usually did in the whirlwind of his busy life, but this moment proved a simple truth. No matter who we are or how occupied we might be, one small act of kindness can change someone's world. That night, the sky seemed brighter. Not because of the stars, but because compassion had illuminated a corner of the world. And so, what seemed like an ordinary afternoon at Taco Bell turned into a life-changing moment for two boys, Liam and Ben. Elon Musk, a man often preoccupied with dreams of conquering space and redefining humanity's future, chose to pause, listen, and truly understand. He not only helped them overcome their struggles, but also imparted a valuable lesson in compassion and kindness. Stories like this remind us that sometimes, even the smallest act can create a profound change, bringing hope to the darkest of places. Have you ever witnessed or experienced an inspiring story like this? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. If you love heartwarming stories that touch your soul, Don't forget to subscribe to Inspiring Hearts so you never miss a video. See you in the next story.